Hello and welcome to another tutorial. Of course, this is Haven, and this is going to be a tutorial on making a bow inside of Blender. And you can use this for clothing, for shoes, for any kind of object, anything at all. It's a lot of fun and it's really easy. Also, no comments, please, on how much geometry this is. I'm not going to take the time to clean that up, but that should go without saying. Clean up the extra geometry when the item is all done on this one. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to start with a curve. So Shift and A to pull up the Add menu, adding a curve circle. Now this circle is really pretty big, and I'm going to leave it that big just for the sake of the secondary parts that I'm going to be bringing in. With this brought in, I'm going to go to the Object Data tab, which is the curve icon here. Of course, everyone should know that this icon on this tab changes depending on what you have selected in your scene. It's always the Object Data tab, but it does show you what type of object you have selected. So for the fill type, I am going to go with full. What people don't know is that this can be made in any number of ways, with just the front sides, just the back sides, the bottom or the top sides. When you first make this, it has no depth right now, but if I were to add some bevel depth to it, which kind of thickens it up, the resolution, you can't tell too well, but this is four-sided. It's almost shaped like a diamond. So if you were to cut this here, and look at it, you would see a diamond shape. And adding some resolution to it, bevel resolution, let me open that up. This rounds it out. So now you have more of a circle shape going on here. And that's where I'm going to stop as far as this goes, except I am going to maybe scale it down just a little bit. Alright, so like I said, when you cut this apart here, you're going to see a circle. Well, that doesn't have to remain a circle shape making this circle tube. We can change that by adding a bevel object to it. Easy, easy to do. First, I'm going to bring in the object that I want as a bevel, and that's going to be another Bezier circle. So there it is. I am going to face it towards me so I can see it better. So RX90. Enter, and this one I am going to scale way down. The reason that one gets scaled way down is because when I apply it as the bevel object, the bevel object will change size based on this. So I don't want this to blow up really big. I want it to be small and manageable at the beginning. I'm then going to come into my panel here, but first select that one. So select our original curve with the geometry on it. And where it says bevel object, if you click on this box, you'll see any object in your scene that can be used. Right now we have just the one circle. And you saw that it blew up instantly. This circle not only takes on the shape of this circle, it takes on the size of it as well. What also happens is that resolution I gave it a 4 before is no longer in effect. It doesn't matter. It's overtaken by the bevel object. So somebody say, well, why'd you show us the resolution? Well, because you might want to know. Alright, so now I'm going to take this bevel object, the circle, and move it out to the side. And I'm going to begin to make my bow. But first, let's make the bow a little closer to the shape that we want. So I'll bring the front side back, the back side forward, and we're starting to get there. Let me close it up a little bit more. This part is actually going to be inside of that center bow later on, so this doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but it's close now. Alright, so clicking back on the bevel object and putting it back into edit mode, I can now start manipulating this. And let me go to my preferences and just change my background real quick a little bit. And this will allow us to see the shape of that a little bit better. Okay, so I can take these and I can subdivide this. I can change what kind of handles these are. I can change their angle, their rotation, anything that I want. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start to thicken my bow up. So we'll just like this. Maybe I'll take the bottom one and pull that down. Take the top and pull it up. I can take the sides and move them in if I want. This side, this curve, is actually the one that's along the inside. So you can see how this moves the outside of it. Alright, so maybe I'll just move that in a little. Maybe I want to give this a little decor here, so I will choose these two, hit W and subdivide. Choose these two, hit W and subdivide. And I gave myself 2 extra handles to work with. I'm also going to turn these handles, these 3, into free handles. I do that by selecting them and hitting V on the keyboard, and that V pulls up the menu that allows me to change this. So now let me see what we've got. I'm going to take this handle and maybe bring it in or out. How about if I bring them out instead? There we go. This one, let's see what happens if I bring those out. I don't really care for that too much. Alright, so let me bring the whole thing out. And maybe take these 2 and bring them in. You can literally do anything you want with this. You make this outline any shape that you want the outline of your bow to be. And as you can see, we've got a start of a pretty decent bow. Maybe that one's a little too thick there. I can bring that out. I can really make this look, ribbed if I want to. I can bring these in, make them a little smoother. So, like I said, anything you want at all, you can do. You can take this one and not only move it up, but you can move it out like that. But I'll save an effect like that for later. So let me click back here and go into edit mode. And this part here needs to be thinned up. It shouldn't be as thick here as the loops are. So we're going to do that by affecting both the inside and the outside of this. So the first thing I'll do is click the actual control point for one of these, and I'll scale it down, but I'm not using just S, because if you watch, if I hit S, nothing really happens. You have to use Alt S in this case, and I got the back one there. Let me re-grab the front here. Alt S, and you'll see that it's scaling it down in that direction, which is really what I wanted. Let me get this one here, and whoops, I went into front view and kind of lost my placement. And let me go ahead and hit Alt S and scale that down as well. You could do that all by number if you want. And then I'm going to go into object mode, and I'm going to scale the whole thing on the x-axis. So that's kind of nice like that. I also like to come in here and mess around with proportional editing afterwards, and I'll even do that, a little bit of that in a minute. Now this looks way too thick, so let's go ahead and readjust this a little. And this. There we go, I like that. Now after you get this made, you turn it into mesh. So Alt-C from object mode, mesh from curve, and now if I put it into edit mode, you can see it's now actually mesh. So putting proportional editing on, I can select the 2 top areas there. Doesn't exactly matter which one I choose. I'm in edge select, I should be in vertex. So let me reselect that as a vertex, vertice, rather than an edge. And now if I grab it and I maybe scale it, I can scale those out, fan them up a little bit, maybe grab them and do that. A little bit of a butterfly bow maybe. It's a little too drastic, isn't it? Anyways, you get the idea. You can mess around with the shape of this all you want. And these really should come down just a little bit. Alright, so there's my bow. That's the one that I want to start messing around with. You can see I could have done a little bit better on the direction that I pulled for the reshaping of it, but you get the idea. So now the one around the center is exactly the same. We're going to use Shift and A and add another circle. This one I'm going to rotate on the Y, and I am going to also give it a bevel object, so adding a circle for that and scaling it way down. Let's move that over there and rotate it on X by 90. And basically I just did exactly what I did with the first one. So now with this one I'm going to scale this one way down to start fitting around the center of that bow. I'm going to turn this into full just like I did the first one. And I don't really have to add geometry to it. I need to scale this one way down and then set that as its bevel object. And you'll see that it instantly thickened up a little bit. So now let me take this and I'll scale it a little more. And I ran out of room there. You can just scale it up as far as you want to. And I started off with a pretty big bow to begin with, so I had to really increase that a lot. There, after you get that part done, you can select that and convert it to your mesh again, which is Alt-C from object mode. And from front view, I can go into my edit mode, maybe scale this down. Something like that. And then when I scale it back up with a different area of influence, oops, and scale down, I can begin to make light little ribbons in it like the actual bow itself has. So that part started. The next part is some streamers. So let's start with a curve, but a Bezier curve rather than a Bezier circle. I'm going to rotate this, let's say, on Y by 90, and then I'm going to bring the size of it down. I'm going to rotate it 180 as well, so that I have something like that to work with. Again, I'm going to set it to full, and I'm not going to use a bevel object for this one, so let me go ahead and give it some 0.06 depth. The extrude you can also do as well, which is pretty cool. That's way too big, so let's see. Let's try 0.02 and thicken it up a little bit. Okay, and let's add some resolution to it. Alright, so now we have at least the basic shape going so far. What we can do next is add what's called a taper object. Taper objects, when we work with the Bezier curve, you have to work with them in top view. Oh, I added a circle. So let me try that again, and the curve. I'll move it over here. When you work with the curve, it works based on the origin. So wherever the origin is on here is going to affect how these ends, when manipulated, work. It's a little hard to understand until we look at it. So let me go here kind of in top view. And I'm going to actually take my curve and let me rotate it back. Nope. Let me rotate it on the X. So rotate it like that. Let me move it up so we can see it. Alright, that's better. We can always move it back in place when we're done working with it. So now I'm going to take this streamer and I'm going to add this curve as its taper object. So Bezier curve 1. And you'll notice that this has changed instantly. It's gotten thinner on the top and it's gotten a little bit thinner here, but basically it's kept its thickness here and it's gotten thinner on the bottom. The reason is that this has now taken on the shape of the curve here. So because this is close to the same z-axis or the same y-axis as the origin, it remains thin. And then as it moves away, you can see it starts to get thicker, and as it comes back in line with it, it remains thin. So I really hate that I don't have that big enough to see. Let me scale that up. Alright, that'll be a little bit better. Alright, so now in edit mode, watch this here. If I take this end and I grab it and I move it, do you see the bottom of the streamer thicken up? And if I bring it back down towards the level that the origin is on, it gets thinner. Okay, so we'll thicken that up a little bit. And we'll leave the top a little on the thinner side. I am going to actually lift it up a tiny bit, just so that we can see another effect of this. Okay, so also moving these towards the origin on the x-axis also works. So if I take this one here and watch what happens as I bring it closer. I don't know if you can tell, but it's really thinning down as it goes down. As I move it further away, you can see that that thickness extends itself upward. And the same for this one. It's not quite as evident as I'd like it to be, but you're getting the idea of how that works. You can also take these and subdivide them, and so then you have like a third point. So this way you can make the center thin and the two edges thick. So let me bring that one up and this one up, and then I'll bring this one lower. So you kind of get an idea of what I mean by that. So that's another fun way to start playing with the streamers and having something fun to do with them. Alright, so when you're done with the taper object, you just go back to your mesh here. Well, actually it's a curve, but you can turn it into mesh again, and I can rotate this back where it belongs. So there's that. And of course I don't want this big piece there, so what I'm going to do is go into edit mode and turn my occlude off, and I will select the top portion here and delete it. I will take the top on this and scale it down, and then just push it down into the bow. Let me just put the whole thing there. Object mode, and I can move it this way and rotate it a little. and you have a nice bow that you can use on anything. You will want to, like I said, clean up the geometry. You can get rid of some of these extra edge loops that don't make a difference. They don't need to be there, so clean them up. And also down here, you can fill in this edge with a face so that it's nice and closed off. And that, my friends, is how you can begin to make a bow in Blender. And remember, this is just some of the techniques that the curve gives you. Don't be afraid to use those techniques and explore a few more and find out just how fancy and nice you can get your bows to be. Have fun. Please subscribe and, put your likes on there, and let me know if you have any suggestions for other things.